my screen? Is it visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Yeah, so this is the first one, the blog thing, which you mentioned to have an intro, name, hobbies, image, and strengths and weakness.
Yeah, okay. Can you like open this in the
Yeah,
browser?
yes. So it is like this. Means I have added CSS to this file only.
Okay. Uh, okay, great. So that's fine. So did you try to resize the image that you are showing?
Image, yes. Width and height, I have changed it.
Okay, okay. Wait,
You
so
wanted any other thing? Means I didn't get you.
yeah, no, I like it was like appearing to be the image appeared to be squashed on the browser. Can you go back to your browser?
Yes.
It was appearing like this. I was wondering, like, okay, can you give me control?
Yes. 1 second. Yes, I have given.
Yeah, maybe this one looks better.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, so that's good work, Sheetal. Can we
Thank-
move on to Radhika now?
Should I stop my sharing, Samindra?
Yes, you can stop, and Radhika, you can share now.
Somendra, I worked in a different laptop, but I can share you the image of what I did. Uh, what I want is I was trying to add a border to the entire page, but I couldn't do it.
Okay, but
mm,
since you have the image, if you have the source code, maybe I can have a look into it.
yeah, I'll send you that. Just a minute because I didn't work on the same laptop, so that's an issue. Um,
Yeah.
or I can join Or I can join from a different laptop from which I've worked.
Mhm. Okay, then
Mhm.
you can try doing from that laptop, and I'll circle back to you.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So meanwhile, Divya, can you share yours?
Yes, Somendra. Can you see my screen, Somendra?
Yeah, I can see.
Can you see it, Somendra?
Yes, I can see, but I can. So first, have you like not used the CSS so far?
Yeah, I have used it. Let me show it to you.
Are the styles getting applied? Because I can't see any color here.
1 second. Can you see it, Somendra?
Yeah. So I just have like one issue with your code. Give me a remote control. I can show you.
Okay.
So, get that show. Where is this code? Where So, Divya, see, one thing that I also told last time was like you have this information section, right? Then you have this hobbies section, then you have strengths and weaknesses section. So when you are trying to, sorry, excuse me, yeah, sorry. So when you're trying to create separate sections on the page, it's better that if you can, put it under a div tag, right?
Okay.
Because right now, how it is happening is like your H2 tag ends here, then your P2, P1 tag starts. What's P1? There's nothing called P1. Okay, so there's nothing called P1, okay? It's just
Okay.
P. Yeah,
Okay.
that H1, H2 is only for H, not for the other attributes.
Okay.
Yeah. And yeah, what I was saying is like if you put it inside div tag, the different sections, then it will be better. Otherwise, the issue right now with is, let me show you. So if you see the screen, there's no identifiable way. Like, say for example, this header, this image. So they and these two fall like as kind of a title. And then you have this introduction section, then you have this paragraph, then you have this break line, and then you have another paragraph. So, and all these things like this one, and this one, these three are part of the same section, which is the introduction section, right? But on the HTML, it appears like all three are different, like they're just lines, like separate different lines. So logically, you won't be able to segregate them from other elements on the document. That's why I asked you to use the div tag, like whenever you try to create some kind of a, a section on the page, then it's better to use a div tag. So
Okay.
if you go back to code, all you have to do is like put these things in the div tag. So like this. So similarly, you can do it for others. So that kind
Okay.
of makes it logical. If you go back to your CSS code, okay, fine. So you have given padding 2 pixels and margin 15 pixels to P1. P1 is nothing. So if we remove, make
Okay.
it as P. Okay. So it looks more like this. So maybe you can use padding and margin in a more better way. So I don't know, like if you are trying, we're just trying it, then it's okay. If you're like trying to make it nice, then this section Earlier this was not getting applied actually. That was the issue. Uh, so you can see here, if you go to this p tag, so this line in yellow is that's your margin. If you come to this diagram, it will be visible. So this one. This is your padding and this is your margin. So it's not very kind of good. So what you can do is you can reduce actually in here you don't require padding and margin. Padding margin should always be given at a div level because paragraphs are just contains within a container, right? So you don't require padding or margin for these.
Okay.
Yeah, overall that's fine. So yeah, you created it and you kind of wrote the CSS. That's the good part. And maybe we can make it a little bit better, and that's something that you can get with practice. So no issues. Good work. And now let's come to Radhika. So
So
yeah,
Mindra,
so you stop.
I'm in hospital. I will reach my home by 12:30 or something. I can I show you then from my laptop.
Okay, no issues. Okay, then come back to Swapna.
Hi, Samandra. I am Swapna.
Hmm.
And this is my first class.
Oh, this is your first class?
Yeah.
Okay, so do you have recordings of the previous sessions that we have done?
No.
No? Okay. So, Sheetal, can you share that to Swapna, those recordings?
Yes, Samindra. I have two videos, two recordings. I will send.
Okay. Okay, just to give you an introduction, Swapna, what we are trying to do here is we have started learning HTML and CSS, and what we have learned about tags, and we have learned about different CSS properties so far. Let me just show you this.
CSS. How much part you completed?
So far, just the basics ones, like, what padding, explanation of paddings, margins, how to apply it. Then some basic styles like, talking about fonts, talking about weights, talking about, IDs and classes and everything.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
are you
CSS
familiar?
wise 2 classes completed.
Yes.
Okay.
Let me see here, right? So this is what we did in our last class. So in the first class, we talked about all these tags of HTML.
Okay.
And yeah, and then in the next class, we did some CSS, all these styling things that you're looking at here is all CSS. This box was created to explain this padding and margin, etc. You can get all these things in the video. Okay, so you go through the sessions, and what I want you is like to create this kind of a blog. Okay, so in the blog,
In
what you need to
HTML.
write, yeah, in HTML. So in the blog, what you need to write is some basic introduction about yourself. Okay, what are your hobbies? What are your strengths and weaknesses? And if you can put one image, some random image from the internet would do. Okay, then
Yeah, I
that's
saw
what.
it. Okay. Yeah, just now I saw these people's introduction part. So I will do likewise. I got idea. So, but
Mhm.
did you specify about any specific tags that I have to use? Did you specify
No,
that I have to use div like other I have to use likewise? Did you say any specific ones?
no, you're free to use anything, but just make sure that design of your document should be like logically segregated and it should be identifiable. So there are some basic rule of thumbs that I said that if you have created, let's say, if you're talking about the button tag, then we should enclose it in a div tag so that we can identify that, okay, this is a separate section and this is input tag, where when we're talking about input tag, that's a separate section and all these
Hmm.
kind of things. Okay, in the CSS section, I explained like how classes and IDs you can do both of them, but why ID is used and why classes is used. So, basic design things just you need to keep in mind, and rest you can use anything, any CSS property, any HTML property,
Mhm.
whatever you want.
Mhm. Okay.
Okay.
I
So,
have one question on CSS. Is that this class? If I am using class, I can use okay. This ID class is there, right? ID is for number.
ID is for number.
Yeah, ID class. If I am using ID class, table 1, for example, I'm using table 1, table 2, table 3. If I need to mention about it for 1, 2, 3, that's why I use ID.
Okay.
My question is that the purpose of using ID class?
No,
Because
I didn't
number
get
is
you. I did. So what, let me just share my screen so I can understand your question better.
my question is, if number is there, then do we need to use that ID?
So if number is there, do we need to use that ID? For example, if you are writing table, and what attribute you are associating that number?
I created for example, I created 2 tables. That name is table 1, table 2, table 3. So
Okay.
maybe is it like to identify the table 2 or table 3 likewise? So that's why I need to use hash table 1 because it is ID. I mean, it is number.
Yes, correct. See, if you have like 3 tables, okay, then so you want the design to be consistent, right? So you want the same styles to be applied across all 3 tables. So in general, you should use a class, but let's say that you want to apply some, unique styles to table 2, for example. So in that case, you define it with an ID, and then in the CSS, you essentially define the styles for it. So you have to use hash there.
Mhm.
Did it answer your question?
Uh, that's okay.
Okay,
Maybe.
let me just show you here.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have this thing here. Okay, I have one table here. So here, what were you trying to say? Like you define something like ID equals to table 1, something like that?
No, my question is why ID? What is the difference between ID and class? Why we
What's
use
the
hash ID?
yeah,
Means why do we
yeah,
use
so
ID?
yeah. So the difference between ID and class simply is that, a class is used to group together different elements. Like, for example, if I have, let's say, 2 div tags and I want them to, and I want their paddings and margins to be same. Or maybe I want all the div tags paddings and margins to be same. So in that case, I should be using a class, okay, to group together elements. Okay. But let's say that I want a specific, let's say this button div to have different styles apart from the ones that I've defined in the class. Then in that case, in order to uniquely identify that particular section, I can use an ID. Now, the thing is, that's what I was discussing in the last session, that you can actually use ID and class interchangeably. Like whatever you can achieve with using a class, you can also achieve that with using an ID. So I showed them an example yesterday for that. But then why do we use an ID and not a class if both can be used? The answer is like it's basically more of a design thing. Like if, for example, when you use an ID, it gives a hint to the programmer that you're trying to uniquely style a certain element. And if you're using a class, then it basically gives the hint to the person who is reading your code that you have tried to group together several things, and that's why you're applying a certain class to it. Does that make sense, Cheater?
You mean Swapna? Yeah.
Yeah, Swapna, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I will check yesterday's class too. So by that maybe I will get more idea about it.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because you explained yesterday with examples, so I will get that idea.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
And now let's circle back to Sadhika. Sadhika, you can present now.
Yes, Somendra. I'll share my screen. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I can see your screen. Yeah.
All right. Just a moment.
Somendra, I got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
understood now. Thank you.
Um, One minute, Somendra.
One question. Daily somebody will record the session, right?
Sorry, Sabna, what was it?
So daily these sessions will be recorded, right? By some people.
Yeah, so yeah, these sessions are recorded daily, but I am not sure. Like, I don't record it. Maybe the host records it.
Okay.
Somendra, yeah, this is the one I did. But I was trying to add a border line to this entire page, but I was not getting it. How to do it?
So you want to add a border to the entire page.
Entire page.
Okay. The entire page in the sense like your contents, like my blog, name, self, and hobbies, they all should be within a certain border, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Can you go back to your code?
sure. Um, yeah.
Just hold on. Area. Um, um,
Can we have CSS to body directly, Samendra?
yeah, you can do. Yeah, I am on lunch here. Right. Yeah, so let me come back here. What was it? Yeah. So you had to add that border to the entire thing, right? So adding the
Yeah.
body is not the correct way because I'll tell you why. Because what you are trying to achieve, oh, sorry, I don't have the control. Yeah.
I'll
Do I have?
review it. Mm, have to give remote access here.
Yeah, I'm not getting the option to ask for remote access. I don't know why. I was getting so. It might be that you have disabled it from your end.
All right, I'm not sure about this. I'll look at it later.
Yeah, anyway, so can you go back to your code? I'll tell you what to do. And
Okay.
so okay, first, can you come back to the browser, like show me the block?
Um, yeah.
So you want this my blog name and this entire thing to be within the border, right? Because if you apply the border to the body, then it's gonna like take the entire thing. I don't think that is what you're looking for. So let's come back to your code. And I see the same issue with your code that I saw for, I think, Divya, that there's a lack of div tags, like you have not clearly defined the sections. So each of the HTML attributes seems like a different one. Okay, each one. Yeah, the hobbies section, the hobbies should also be within the div. So anyways, let's do one thing. After the body, create a div tag.
Here. Okay.
Yeah, after the body, create a div tag.
Okay.
Yeah, and write class equals to within the div tag. Yeah, class equals to in double quotes and write main hyphen section. Main, no, not name, main, M-A-I-N, main. Main hyphen section. Yeah. And now, close that angular bracket and close the div tag before the body tag ends at the bottom.
Okay.
Yeah. Now go back, now save this file and go back to CSS. Yeah, right here, press enter and write dot main hyphen section. Yes, section. Yeah, and then open curly braces. Yeah, and in here write border. Then write colon. Then write 1 pixel. Yeah, 1 pixel, not 1 pixel, and then after that solid, like space solid. Then space red.
So instead of writing color and then giving the color name, can we directly write this solid red?
So come again, instead of writing the solid. What
So
was it?
above here, I've written it as color and then given the color, right? So can I just directly write like this in the border itself?
Okay, you want to directly write light blue in the border, right?
No. Now we are using solid in the border, right?
Sorry, I understood her question.
Mhm.
That what she's saying is here we are giving border color is solid red, not text color. That color only if you specify only color, that means text color, not border color. Here we are mentioning border solid red means border color is solid red, not text.
Okay.
Correct. Correct. And now you can close the main section and save this CSS file. And now run it. Now go back to your code and refresh.
Yeah, okay, got it.
So one more thing you should do, maybe you click okay. Add some padding to that class. Go back to your code. Yeah. And just write after border, write padding top, sorry, padding left, padding hyphen left. And give it like 100 pixels.
No color?
No, 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 no color. This is padding, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
now it looks good. Okay, let me tell you one more thing to do. So in the border, you have written like solid, right? So
Yeah.
instead of solid, you you make it double, double.
Okay. This makes the border look so bigger, right?
Yeah. Now save it. Go back.
Yeah.
Refresh it. Hmm.
No, it still shows the same thing.
Okay. I think the we written it
It's
correctly.
1 pixel. Should I increase the border size?
Yeah, you can increase. Yeah, that's also works. You can make it like 10 pixels.
Okay.
Yeah, now okay. So because the border was like 1 pixels, we were not able to see these two lines. So in double, you
Okay.
have like two kind of frames.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it. So are we left with anyone or are we done? I think everyone's done now. We can start our today's session then. Do you have any questions based on what we discussed last time?
No, Samantha, we are good.
Okay. So I'll come back to my code. Where is my code? Okay, so sorry, where is it? Oh, I actually correctly shared. So I was speaking on mute. So yeah, so today, like we discussed yesterday, there are like many other different CSS properties you can explore, but today we might want to start with something called responsive web design. So what do you mean when I say that a certain page is responsive or not? So yesterday we already saw that our page was responsive, but I'll still show you certain things. So if you want to see how much responsive your page is, like generally when you open DevTools, it appears like this on your system. So all you have to do is like click here. This is your a kind of a tablet icon, and that will open it in a in a sort of a device dimensions. Here you can see like if your page is really responsive or not, because if it is not responsive, it will kind of overflow, and all sorts of things will happen. So we don't want this here. We want to be just responsive, and we will throttle it. Okay. So here I want to show you something. Yeah. So in this particular box. Okay. So, or maybe we talk about the image would be better. Anyways, let's come back to our CSS, and we must be styling our div tag. What was the ID that we assigned to it? And the ID was tutorial, so yeah, we're doing it here. Okay, so let's first make a very small change so we understand what we are trying to do here. Let me remove it from the responsive design. Okay. So I write here something, just observe, we write media. Okay. And I sorry, write media. What's the current background? Hmm. Okay. So let's save this and let's come back to our code here. We refresh it, doesn't really, nothing happens as such, right? Now let's see this. Saw this, what happened? So the background color changed, right? And if I like drag it back here, now it's different. And now it's different. So this is what media query does. Okay, so a media query essentially, it kind of creates a if else kind of a statement for you. Like if you can use the screen width, and based on the screen width, you can define the styles for it. Let's say, for example, you know, you want a certain, let's say you have a certain image on your document, and you define the size of that image or the width of that image to be, let's say, 600 pixels. But when that same thing is viewed on, let's say, a phone, which has a lot less width, then obviously it's going to overflow, or you have to at least cut the sections for it to be visible within the dimensions of the phone, right? So it would be better if you want to apply like separate style to that. If it is viewed on a phone, like some kind of selective style that you want to apply based on the width of your screen. And that's where this media query comes in, and that's what responsive design is. Okay, so let's come back here and see what we're doing here essentially. So first, if you want to start with writing the media query, you have to like write @media, and then you have to specify like what condition you're trying to give. So let's say in here I've said max width as 600 pixels. So what it means is that if your browser window is like 600 pixels or smaller, then the background color will change to bisque. Okay. So let's say that and similarly, you can also do it for min width. Like for example, if you want to go the other way around, like if the browser, if you write it like this, min width as something, then the vice versa thing will happen. Like if your browser window has the minimum width of 600 pixels, then this particular style will get applied. Otherwise, the normal style that you have defined in your CSS, they get applied. Okay. So let's do a few more things with max with the media query, and then you get a very good idea. So let's say that let's come back to our code. Okay, so what we can do with this div tag, we can we like change the width here? Let's see. This one is a with say I gave 10 pixels. Yeah. So I am like shrinking the width right now, something like this. But let's say that if we are viewing on a, let's say a sort of an iPhone or something, I don't want the width to be that large. Okay, I want the width to be like clipped, something almost like smaller one, right? So in those cases, I can also use the media query to kind of write an if-else statement. So let's say that I have the media query where only screen may not be required most of the times. Let's say max width is let's say 450 pixels. Then I want the tutorial section to be applied with this. Whatever they're doing, it's fine. So I'll copy this here. Okay, and all I want is like the width to be smaller. So I can write width and I can give it some width, maybe 150 pixels. Okay, so now we store this and we shrink the size. Okay, I think I've changed. Okay, what did I? Oh yeah, I applied the width and the background color is getting changed because of this media query. So you can see here, right? The when I like shrink the size, this thing decreases. Now I just wanted to talk a little bit about this max width thing because I did not talk about it in the last session. So there are few things. One is like I want to talk about width and height, and I want to talk about this max width and max height also. So you will, when you're setting the width and height of any element, you have like four options. You can either set the width, you can set the height, or you can set the max width, and you can set the max height, or you can set the min width, or you can set the min height. So you have all these options. First, let's explore what height and width, how we change it, especially if you are talking about responsive web designs. So let's say here we come to the image section where we have defined some certain height and certain width to it. Now, this is like normally not the correct way to do it. Why I tell you? Because you're specifying that the image height should be 150 pixels and the width should be 100 pixels. But let's imagine that let's say that you open this page on a bigger screen, like a 43-inch screen. Then also your image will be like 150 pixels and your height will. Okay, wait. Where is this message is coming from? Yeah. So even if you open it on a larger screen, you still specify the height as 150 pixels and the width as 100 pixels. And that's not the correct way to do it, because when you are having a larger screen, then your image should be comparatively larger, right? Because if you just make it 150, 100 pixels, it will appear very, very small on the larger screen. Maybe it appears well on your laptop, okay, but it doesn't look good on the larger screen, right? So that's why we generally avoid like specifying pixels in this way. So I guess what can be the solution to this? You might think, well, okay, we can use the min, width, and the max. Like we can write media queries, right? Like if the screen size or the viewport size is like 450 pixels, or maybe if you're using a bigger screen, maybe 1000 pixels, then we apply a certain style. Okay, but a more convenient way would be to use certain features. So you know, you have certain things in CSS, which basically are kind of styles which gets applied on the basis of the width and height of your viewport. By viewport, I mean the entire screen in which you're looking at it. So let me show you how it works. We come back here. Yeah. And we go to the image. So instead of here writing it as 150 pixels, maybe I write 25%. And instead of writing the width as 100 pixels, I write, 25%. Okay. So what does it mean by when I specify percentage is that, it takes 25% of the viewport height and the viewport width. Okay. So right now, if you see, this is my entire viewport, and this is taking like 25% of its height and 25% of its width. So you can also decrease this, like if you want, and you can come to the width also, and you can decrease this also. Okay, this one maybe 15% is fine. Okay, so what is the utility of doing this? Okay, why do we want to define it in percentage instead of like defining it in pixels? Is because when you calculate, you're basically calculating the percentage of the viewport, and that way it can automatically resize itself even if you change the screen size. So for example, if you're taking this and if you're taking it to a bigger screen, okay, then it will take 15% of the bigger screen size, like 15% of the viewport. So in that way, it will automatically resize itself, right? So that's why it's better. So percentage is not just the only thing that that you can do. Like you can also use, there's something called REM and there's something called EM. I forgot the full forms of them. They are not used for like this um, I mean the image or resizing image or deep text. They're mostly used for text. Okay. So you can, if you are using a text, then you can use this EM and REM. Like if you want to increase, I think we have provided some font size here. Yeah, font size for H1 was 24 pixels. You can make it like 3 rem something, or maybe 3 EM. Okay. So REM and EM are mostly relative to each other, and they are calculated like based on the size of the viewport. So again, this is one example of how we do the responsive designs. So when we talk about, remember, when we are talking about responsive web design, we should always go for units that are kind of that are kind of relative to the viewport size. Okay, we should not specify something like this, like height is 150 pixel, width is 100 pixels. We shouldn't be doing that. Instead, we should use some unit which is like calculated on the basis of how the viewport looks like. So you can learn more about the REM and EM, through Google. I'll highly suggest that you go through them, how they are calculated. Or if you or maybe a more easier way is to just use percentage, because that makes more sense to you, at least for the start. But if you're using, like, if you're trying to resize a font, I mean resize the text, then in those cases don't use percentage, maybe use rem or rem, that is better. Okay, and yeah, and I have also, so we are, and yeah, one more thing was there, which is, yeah, we were talking about max height, max width, max height, min width, and min height. So what this max width, what it does is that, if you specify a max width to a certain, to a certain element, then what it does is that it will like, it won't increase the width of that particular element beyond the max width that is defined. Similarly, with the min width, like if you have defined, let's say, a min width of, let's say, 100 pixels, and then through some different class or different ID, you're trying to define the width, you're trying to decrease the width to, let's say, less than 100 pixels, maybe 80 pixels, then it won't work, because you have already defined that the minimum width that it should have is something like 100 pixels. So you can also use the max width and the min width. It depends on the use case. Like sometimes, especially in media queries, it's more frequently used because we are trying to, cover the viewport size and others. So in media queries, you also have this option, like you have seen screen here, and there are like several options that you can use. Let's see if the ID gives us recommendations here. Okay, not so much. So, but I think if you go to Google, you'll find out like there are many other things. But for now, I don't want to use any options here. I want to keep it very simple so that you can try it out. So one thing is like, you can, so this hashtag tutorial, we have defined some style here. And then in here also we have hashtag tutorial. Here also we have defined some style. The only difference here is this width, which was not there. Okay. So this is how the media query works. Like if you define some max width, that the viewport width should be something, and then you apply a separate set of styles to it. Okay, maybe if I change the background color to, maybe uh, this one, Rebecca Carter, I don't know what it is. So if we change to this one, then if you resize this, and where is it? Oh, yeah. Okay. So it's still bisque, right? The background color is bisque. Okay, bisque here also. But the background color here is a big purple. So I think that is not getting applied. Let's see how it's. So yeah, one way here is to debug using the dev tools, which I've already told you. So using the dev tools, you can see what style is getting applied to it. Okay, right now you can see the body is over. Let's resize this. Okay. Yeah, this style is not getting applied somehow. What is this? This is our color, isn't it? Mm, let's give it. Let's give it red. Yeah. So coming back here, refresh this. color is best. It might be that the dimensions are not right. Put it 600 pixels here. Yeah, the dimensions were not getting small enough for the styles to get applied. That's why. So anyways, you get the idea of how to debug these CSS also. So that's a very important aspect of like any programming, that you should know how to troubleshoot the issues that you're facing. And for CSS, since you don't have system.out.println, you have this DevTools where you can actually see what styles are getting applied, and if something is not getting applied, and why it's not getting applied and all that. So I think we have covered most of the things for today's session. Let me know if you have any questions for what we have learned today. Any questions, guys?
No, Somendra.
Awesome.
Okay.
We'll try to work on this media query once and check. If we get anything, we'll get back to you.
Okay. So, so what you can do is like you can try to apply this media query in your existing block, and yeah, and see how it goes, like how the styles are getting changed when you change the screen size. One thing you can do is like you should always make use of this thing, this responsive thing, so you can check it on different styles. Here you can also use this, this thing here. Like if you go like beyond 600 pixels, the style changes. So yeah, you can also use this one to like check for the different screen sizes and how styles gets applied. Okay, remember, this is not your width and height, this is the resolution. Okay, so make sure, and that's all. So tomorrow what we are going to do is we are going to start with Flexbox tomorrow. We'll start with Flexbox. Or maybe we'll start with Bootstrap. So I think maybe I give you an idea of Flexbox, then it will be better to start with Bootstrap. Okay, no worries. We will start with Bootstrap first, and then we will talk about Flexboxes. Okay, guys. Okay, then let's meet tomorrow, and I hope that for whom it was the first session? I think it was for Swapna, right?
Yes, Samir.
Yeah, so you can go through the sessions or recordings of the last sessions that we have had, and you can kind of code a block for yourself and try to style it using the CSS, and also try to incorporate media queries. And as I've always told like to everyone, that feel free, because there are like many properties, it's not possible to incorporate everything within a 1 hour session. So you feel free to use Google, search out, or even in your ID you get recommendations for different styles. You can apply them and see how it's working. Okay, and the more you explore, the more you will get to know. Okay, then
Okay,
guys, meet you.
Samindra, today's session is about media, no?
Yeah, today's session is we are starting the responsive web design, where we talk about media queries. We talked about some responsive units like rem, m, and percentage, and we talked about some other like kind of responsive elements that we use, like max width, max height, min height, all these things.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So let's meet tomorrow, and let's you guys explore media queries, and let me know if you have any questions. Okay, then. Bye.
Thanks,
Have a
Anand.
good day.
Ravi, you are the host, right? Ravi, are you there? Sadika, are you there?
Yeah, yes, Swapna. Yes.
So I was searching for the recording session for the first session where the HTML was described and the blog was created. So do you have it or Sadika have it? Can anyone share with me?
Mm. You mean to say this recording which is happening right now?
No, not this one. The first one when the HTML has started.
Okay, I will check.
Oh, okay, thanks. Even you can share this one also and the first one.
Okay, okay.
Thanks, Ravi.
Thank you.